What's up, fellow gamers? Welcome to my Agent EX class guide for Cyber Knight's Flashpoint. Hopefully you'll find this device trustworthy. I have over 650 hours in the game right now, mostly on Chrome difficulty. I've got multiple successful full playthroughs on high difficulty, so I can at least take you pretty far. I'm not going to say this is going to be perfect advice. I am not an Agent EX expert per se, but I've played the class enough where I think I have some at least useful things to say. We're going to go give an overview of all the talents here, talk about what multi-classes might make sense, what kind of gear and cybernetics you might want to take, the various Agent EXs in the game overall, and yeah, hopefully should be a relatively enjoyable guide. So we're going to start with the three intro talents, which are going to be Line Crawler, Glitch, and White Noise. So Line Crawler is one of four, I guess, device disabling active talents. This is the most unique one in that it has a chance of bouncing to the next device down the line. It is also, as a result of bouncing, the only one that can knock down level 2 devices, aka the bioscan fields, where in a large area, if there's two of you in the turn, you get a bunch of tally. Nothing else can take those down without getting a hacker involved, and so this is the only way to take those down. Ultimately, the baseline talent is pretty awkward. 12-meter radius is pretty short. It is just barely able to outrange baby cameras, obviously not anywhere close to long-range cameras. Costs you 1 AP, which is fine. You get 1 charge, which is fine. Getting second charge requires further investment. Bumping the radius to 16 is a little bit more easy to use, of course. But the primary thing is that it comes out of the box with disabling it for this turn plus the next 2. And while that is active, you have a 40% chance of bouncing to the next device, which means you'll take down roughly, 1.8 devices over this and the next 3 turns, which is pretty solid. If you increase the duration, it's now down for this and the next 3 turns. You get 3 chances at the bounce. You can invest in the top half here and increase. This is ends up being plus 80% total, 80% total bounce chance for this and the next 3 turns. So you can get a pretty good amount of device disabling as a result of this one. You can get the second charge, is kind of nice. Ultimately, the one thing I want to bring up, though, is that because Line Crawler is RNG, because Line Crawler only ever gets 16 meters, because Line Crawler can only ever have 2 charges and always costs 1 action point, it is a much less good proactive disabling tool than all of the other classes. I guess you could argue it's better than Cyber Knight, because Cyber Knight would have to waste their points on this or something like this, and instead of other Cyber Knight talents. But compared to Jam Kit or Packet Loss, I would say on average those are stronger talents because you can get more range. You can get I wouldn't say necessarily like more charges easier, though that is technically true. But like Jam Kit gets to 4 charges, for example. Packet Loss innate range is like 18 or 20 meters or something. Ultimately, Line Crawler is the most awkward, the most difficult to use of any of the proactive device disabling talents. Beyond that, the bounce chance is random, and so it might not bounce when you need it. It might bounce to the wrong thing when you don't need it. But to be honest, at the end of the day, if you do invest here, it is still this and the next 3 turns, so a 4-turn disable with 2 charges that will, on average, take down another 2.5 devices itself while doing so, which I really can't hate on too much. This will knock down a lot of stuff. It will high roll for you a decent amount, and because out of the box it is a +2 turn duration, that has a lot of value. Spending a lot of time being kind of negative here. Line Crawler is by no means actually bad. It's just sometimes awkward, sometimes doesn't do what you want to do, but sometimes it high rolls and that feels really good. Next up is Glitch. I am kind of a Glitch hater, just as a player myself, but I don't want to necessarily call this ability bad. It costs 2 AP and out of the box takes you less far than simply running would do. Now that said, it will bypass Overwatch, it will go over pressure sensors and laser gates and cameras and whatnot. You will strictly teleport, nothing else will matter, you will not generate recoil, that's all wonderful. Can't go through walls, but you can go up and down cliffs, up and down buildings. There are going to be plenty of cases where this saves like 8 action points of movement because you jump over a gap or something, and those are pretty relevant. Not every map has this matter, but a decent portion of them actually do, and so in a world where you're willing to send individual characters in isolated moments and say, actually my EX or my Scourge or my Vanguard or whoever is going to go by themselves on this side of the map, and you can glitch over a guard or glitch over a barricade or a gap in the map or whatever, that can all be pretty relevant, but that's kind of up to your playstyle. If you're playing as one big death ball, there's not a lot of use for Glitch, you are not printing AP, you are not getting any extra ground covered or whatever. If you invest really, really heavily, you can get the max range up to 12 here. This will pretty comfortably be action point positive. You can drop the cooldown to 3 and get a second charge that you can pretty consistently glitch all the time. But again, if you're not really playing like solo Agent EX, I find this to be pretty awkward outside of the occasional turn where it matters. That said, I don't think you're often going to run into the talent cap on Agent EX, and so leaving Glitch as like the baseline or maybe like the +1 for 7 meters, you will find the occasional use every mission or so, and you'll be like, wow, that was really nice. I'm really glad I did that. I got out of Overwatch or whatever. Especially if you are getting at Overwatch a lot more, the fact that it exits Overwatch is a pretty big deal, and you might want the extra range to make sure you can like get out that cone comfortably. Again, I don't super love this talent. I've had a hard time making consistent value from this, but I don't really want to call it bad, just it sort of wants investment to be good. Finally, in the intro talents is White Noise. I have probably underrated this talent a bit over the course of my time playing the game. It is pretty useful to just simply disable all footstep sounds from a large area. If you've seen or played a Scourge or watched the Scourge class guide, this works a lot like Toxcloud. You put a circle on the ground, the circle moves forward. It debuffs the enemies for multiple turns to make them not hear gunfire. There is a relatively easy to reach upgrade here for crit vulnerability, which is kind of nice. You can make the duration last longer, though this one, to be honest, probably not that necessary. You're only going to really pop White Noise when you are about to be in footstep range, aka within a turn or so, and then by then you're either running all the way past them or you've attacked them to try to kill them. And so I don't think you'd ever really need the extra duration here. You can make it wider, you can cast it farther away, but again, if I'm casting White Noise, it's to not have guards hear footsteps, so a lot of these range stuff just a little bit mediocre as far as I'm concerned, but yeah, it's kind of also a little expensive to get extra charge. It's not thankfully expensive to get crit vulnerability. Ultimately, I will say this talent is pretty decent. It is right there in the opening. Again, usually talent limit is not a big deal for the Agent EX, and so what this can do is really, really benefit a melee-focused playstyle, because most melee weapons have stealth crit damage, and thus getting a crit on someone who cannot see you, cannot hear you, does not notice you coming in, is a really big deal. It can help your merc stay hidden. It can help you deal triple damage on that first strike there. What's also nice about trying to play a sort of melee-focused playstyle with White Noise, aka like your EX is doing it, but also you've got like a Cyber Sword doing this, maybe your Cyber Knight has a sword, things like that, or you have just a lot of sword secondaries overall. If you put White Noise down, and what you want to do is try to run to like one side of the guard and then strike. The guard will turn to face your merc, which ideally is not facing the rest of your team. So someone else can run in, fully silent, the guard might be alert, but if your other merc is still hidden, they are still eligible for a stealth crit, and then bam, here you go, someone else is now eligible for a stealth crit. Even if you don't get it 100% of the time on the first strike, you might get it on the second, you might get it on the third. You can do some management around where the guard will turn once seeing you, and kind of keep your team under stealth crit, and that can be pretty valuable overall. So there is some real value here. I don't tend to invest really heavily here because I don't think you really need to, but it's a pretty solid 1-point wonder. You want to spend the +2 to get crit chance. I think it's pretty decent here as well. Keep in mind that the crit chance will happen whether or not you're in a full combat mission or they're hiding or whatever. It is a straight up crit vulnerability. And so in a world where you're like, actually, my Agent EX is in big combats here, we're, bringing him on battle strikes or whatever. Okay, well, you can increase the radius. You can maybe increase the duration. You can give some crit vuln and say, well, it's a battle strike, White Noise, 50% crit chance. Now that's much worse than Marker Sights. It's much worse than JTAC. It's much worse than Strike Zone. If you're taking White Noise to be a combat talent, just multi-class, there are way better combat talents out there, but hey, a +2 to have some extra power there, yeah, you might consider it. Now let's continue up the left-hand side of the tree. Glassy Eyed is primarily the core combat tree of the Agent EX, and the primary combat tools are these three, or the gun tools are these three. And what they say is dual SMGs, right, which is obviously an SMG in each slot. What these say is this dual SMG attack. I think this phrasing is probably not the best worded here. What this means is your character has an SMG equipped in each hand. However, it is an attack with only one of the SMGs at a time. The design intent the devs were going for, again, I think the wording here not quite ideal. The design intent the devs were going for is I am a character who wields two SMGs, one for situation A and one for situation B. And based on the situation, I use SMG A or SMG B. And that means like one might be good at piercing cover, one might be long range or short range, one might have a silencer, one might not. That's the kind of space that we're in. obviously with the gunslinger being in the game where you literally shoot both pistols, both revolvers, or one of each at the same time. This is not that. This is, I have a situation A and a situation B SMG, or it's a battle strike and it's both loud. That's fine. And instead of reloading, you just switch from gun 1 to gun 2 and keep going forward. So I want to kind of make that clear that the entire aim lock sort of ethos is, yes, I've got 2 SMGs, but they're usually situationally different. And that's the intent there. If that doesn't appeal to you, that's fine. There are plenty of other good Agent EX talents, and you can multi-class, whatever else. But hey, by the way, that's the big sort of important preamble on dual SMG stuff. So great, dual reload is what it sounds like. You'll reload both SMGs. Now, oftentimes, it will take many, many turns to fully offload both of your SMGs. If you are going to actually get through all the ammo in both of them, either they're both silenced, they're both loud, or you just get in between situations often enough. Realistically, a 5 to maybe 4 turn cooldown is about enough to, like, be the right time for a dual reload to come back from cooldown. Now, keep in mind, you have to functionally unload both magazines to use this the first time, and then, once you've finally done that, you'd have to unload both magazines again within 5 turns to need another charge of dual reload, which, to be honest, is going to be pretty unlikely. I would not recommend taking the cooldown down to 3. I would not recommend bringing the action point cost down to 0 because of the incredibly large number of talent points required to do so. I think realistically, if you're in this playstyle, just grabbing this and saying, hey, by the way, if I'm running 2 ballistic SMGs, this will save me 2 action points once or maybe twice per mission, that's okay. Saving 2 AP once per mission, which is usually going to be about 10 turns, is fine for a point. But, like, you know, maybe I get it sooner. I would say pretty much never worth it. Saving 1 more AP once or twice, again, just not going to say worth it. But yeah, if you're in this playstyle, just take dual reload. It's on the way. It's not a big deal. We can kind of move on from there. Next is the primary pride and joy of this side of the tree, and it is aim lock. If you attack with an SMG, second SMG in your offhand, you start a streak, which gains you a crap ton of bonus damage. Most SMGs are exclusively ballistic damage, which means 25% ballistic as pure is incredible upside. It's going to be about 50% more damage. 25% armor shred is a per bullet calculation, and that means that if you shoot an SMG full auto next time, each bullet will roll for shred, which means you are basically guaranteed to shred every single target that you hit, which is really, really, really good. Dropping the cooldown to 3 is pretty nice. And the really cool stuff is these upgrades not only give you increased damage and increased shred, they also give you more attacks in the aim lock. And so if you're going aim lock at all, this is one where you want to drop the cooldown to 2 turns. You want to say, hey, give me 4 attacks of aim lock and give me 50% ballistic as pure and give me 40% shred. This will basically be permanently on. It is really, really good. It's only a 2-turn duration. Guess what? It's a 2-turn cooldown. If you're going here at all, get an aim lock. Feel really good about it. It's wonderful stuff. This is very, very good. I want to do one caveat, though, which is in the early game, SMGs kind of suck in terms of damage. Aim lock will help with that a little bit, but the baseline damage you're multiplying is very low, and so 50% more of bad is still kind of bad. It will still outdamage pistols here for sure, but you can just not take the talents and use a better gun in a lot of cases here. The other thing to bring up is that this often wants you to play full auto because you're getting shred per hit and you're getting a lot of damage, and this will reload both your magazines, which means, oh, I kind of want to dump a lot of bullets. Even things like this is % full auto damage in the lead up here. And so you're like, oh, I should go full auto. The problem is early SMGs have really, really aggressive recoil that you will not be equipped to deal with. And so you'll start your aim lock and be like, all right, I started my aim lock streak, which, by the way, attack 1 does nothing. You are just doing an attack. There is no upside. You simply turn aim lock on. Okay, well, the guard's woken up. You attacked with an SMG and did like 80 damage. All right, attack 2. Oh, sorry, you've got a bunch of recoil. You're not going to land more than 1 or 2 bullets, and nothing happened, and you're really sad. What this kind of means is really early on, you've actually probably got to go for burst fire attacks, which is going to feel kind of worse. You're not going to be able to use these full auto benefits very easily. Maybe like start of turn 2, you've got like 1 more aim lock shot left. Okay, here you go. But because it's a limited number of attacks, right? Ideally, you want the most powerful attacks possible, which again says full auto, which, by the way, yeah, it just is awkward. I am in no way going to say this talent is bad. I'm going to say that this talent requires a bit of effort on your end to get all the value out of. There's 2 primary ways to do that. One is multi-class into soldier and take iron grip. Iron grip and Iron Grip plus 2, Iron Grip plus 4, somewhere around there, is going to give you really, really good recoil control such that you're going to feel good about this again. The other option is more expensive. It's going to require a lot of money and downtime, but you get the Recoil Tri-Ank Cyber Surgery here, which is a leg implant, and that also gives really meaningful recoil reduction. You can also maybe go into Gunslinger, but it's a lot further away to get there. Also requires an implant, but you could try for Trigger Vector. I think that's probably the worst of the options here, but at the end of the day, how I feel about aim block is around level 10, roughly, which is like not that far into the game. This save, for example, is power level 6, and my Agent EX is level 16. And you can get level 10 around like power level 4. Roughly around there, maybe a bit earlier, but like roughly in that ballpark. That's when you have the points to comfortably go into aim block, the other nearby talents. You can go into soldier or go into surgery, and you'll have the tools needed, and you'll also have like level 3 SMGs or so to feel pretty good about this one. Ultimately, playing combat EX with SMGs is good, but despite these talents existing, you could simply play your Agent EX without SMGs, without aim block, and use the other talents, and it's fine. But again, when it's here, the damage is quite good. The final talent in the aim lock streak is Extra Automatic. This one is pretty sweet. It's just, hey, once every 4 turns, print a move point. That's pretty reasonable if you're already here. This is a pretty solid attribute point on the way up, giving you SMG accuracy. So you go up to here. Totally fine, totally reasonable. You're gonna feel good about this one. And realistically, now this thing, will kind of keep triggering, and you can keep printing 1 move point. So you can shoot, move forward 1 step, shoot, move forward 1 step, shoot, move forward 1 step. Now, if you're shooting burst fire attacks, if you move between attacks, you're going to break your focused fire accuracy buff. But if you're shooting full auto, taking a step forward is only going to cost you 2 recoil. That's not a very big deal. Ultimately, it's not going to be huge. You're going to be fine. The final upgrade, pretty much, I think, pretty clearly worth it, where every single time you attack, you'll just take a free reload on top as well, which is really nice because it means with your giant number of charges, right, you start your aim lock streak and then shoot for the next 4 turns or the next 4 attacks or whatever. Well, these are going to pop up really happy because you're going to basically, for your entire aim lock streak, stay topped off, stay topped off, stay topped off. Now, your second aim lock streak, this will be on cooldown. Okay, fine. But it means that your very first aim lock streak is going to get a lot done. You're going to keep moving forward. You're going to stay full ammo forever. And for what it's worth, when you finally get here and you instantly reload your weapon on aim lock, you can probably go unlearn dual reload because the odds you're going to need this down the line going to be a whole lot lower. So yeah, generally speaking, should be fine. And this is pretty much worthwhile. Once you're into aim lock, I would not bother like rushing this. I would just probably, finish out aim lock here. But then once you're up here, go spend the points, go feel good about it. On to the next. Oh, sorry, we got 2 more to talk about before we move on. So here are the non-aim lock focused talents. Now, Adrenaline Flow does flow in from the right here, so you can go in without going into aim lock and stuff. You can kind of path around like this, which is kind of awkward, but not the end of the world to get to Life Hack. But you do not have to grab the dual SMG talents to grab this stuff, so it's okay. So first is Adrenaline Flow. When you take damage, reduce it by half and gain a move point. As a defensive talent, pretty reasonable. It's self-only, so your EX kind of has to be in front. You can give it a second and third charge to make sure you don't get run over. You can drop the cooldown to 4, and you can increase the damage debuff to 60% instead of 50. Now, this one, I mean, if you're already this invested, this is a further 20% damage reduction, because instead of taking 5 damage, you take 4. That's 20% less. So if you liked this talent, and you said, well, I want to take 50% less, and then you said, okay, well, I want the cooldown, I want the charges, am I willing to spend 1 to take another 20% less? Maybe. I do like the move point on top. This helps you make sure that if you're getting hit, you can get back out to safety or something else, or even like take an Overwatch shot and keep moving. Kind of some funny stuff there as possible. Realistically, it's okay. I personally prefer proactive defensive talents, specifically ones that can go on other people. The thing about reactive talents is that they can never go to waste. They're just there waiting for you, and that's pretty good. But the fact that it has to be your EX can be a little bit funky here, a little bit tough. One thing to point out is that you cannot multiclass Agent EX plus Scourge, and so you cannot do the primary tank class with Adrenaline Flow, which is kind of unfortunate because you would kind of care about this a bit. I think this is fine, but I don't think Agent EXs make great tanks. I think there are other ways to mitigate damage as well, so I don't love it here. Final talent in the tree is Life Hack, which I also find a little bit awkward, although maybe not quite as awkward as you might think. So, characters in this game cannot be one-shot. If you take an instance of damage and you're not already bleeding out, you will not die. You will simply go to bleeding out and be at around like 20% max health. Which means if you are confident you are not going to be killed on an individual turn and only brought low, then you have Life Hack here to say, well, I was really, really low, but now I'm going to basically swap my health percent with some random guard, and this will be functionally 600 pure damage, and I'm going to heal for 170. Now, That's really good for 2 talent points. Of course it is, right? If you can guarantee the upside, you're really, really, really happy here. That said, dangling your EX out to try to trigger life hack sounds a little dangerous to me. There are ways to guarantee this a little bit more. For example, if you're in exactly 1 Overwatch cone, you can tank the 1 Overwatch shot and know that you won't be instantly killed. Find ways to deal with all this stuff. It's playable. Realistically, I think the strongest way to play this game is to try to take as little damage as possible. I think a Agent EX only heal that requires an enemy within 10 meters to make it work. You can bump it to 15, you can bump it to 20. I think, to be honest, this is just really, really awkward to use, and though it's cool, and you can drop the AP cost to 1, and you can fully invest, make the range 25, drop the cooldown to 4, I just would really recommend you take other stuff. You take proactive damage. Realistically, it's just so hard for me to think of a good time to use this of talent, just because it's so awkward. It's kind of hard to get to. You have to do a lot of travel nodes to get there. Yeah, these aren't terrible nodes, don't get me wrong, but like, maybe if you're already here and you've maxed out extra automatic and stuff, and you're like, well, it's only 2 points to go here, it's only a couple points to go there, and the nodes themselves are actually pretty good with a bunch of accuracy and full auto damage. Okay, the travel nodes are actually worth the point in and of itself. They're kind of free. Yeah, maybe, but I'm just really not in love here. All right, next up, let's talk about the EX speed tree. So first here is Supremacy. This entire tree is more about generically good combat talents. I think most of them are solid. I think there's only one I would consider amazing, but we'll get to that when it comes to it. So Supremacy, definitely pretty solid, definitely pretty good. It is relatively easy to reach to. It's, 1 point over, and hey, crit damage is nice. If you can stack crit chance somewhere, you're pretty happy. If you're already here for maybe smokescreen, you come over here for crit damage, and you're, pretty close by. So it is relatively easy to reach Supremacy, which is nice. And security level rising, depending on how you play the game out, it might happen a lot, might not happen a lot. It's going to be kind of up to how you feel about it. But if this happens a decent number of times per mission, this can pretty reliably trigger twice per mission. And so for 1 or maybe 2 points, it triggers and you get 1 move point, 10% move speed, 10% evasion for basically whatever the next turn is going to be. Pretty solid. Honestly, when I'm pathing by it, I take it. I think it's a pretty good talent. I think going +1, this will basically mean you get it a 3rd time per mission. I think taking the +1, pretty reasonable. Another trigger of 10 move speed and 1 move point. I will take that as a +1 every time. I'm pretty happy with that one. Minus cooldown, a little bit less likely to be the +1 here, or I guess now to the +2. It is a little bit less likely this gives you another, like a 4th charge during a mission, so often won't care too much about this one. Sometimes it will matter. 10 accuracy. Now we're getting to a point where it's like, I don't really care about 10 accuracy for 3 turns out of the mission. That's pretty bad. That's functionally equivalent to getting 3% accuracy at all times. And by the way, I can just take that with something like this. Here we go. No, this. There we go. I finally got there. Like, that's basically an attribute node, so I probably wouldn't care about this one too much, even though I am triggering it 3 times per mission in a lot of cases. And the final one here, okay, if I'm going all the way over, 15% move speed 3 times per mission, that's a bit more likely that I'm going to care. It's kind of on the way, though. I mean, realistically, it's like, look, you can take this as a 1-pointer. You can probably convince yourself to take the +1 here. And then it's kind of like, maybe not, probably not. And then if I go, all the way to +4, I finally care again. But honestly, there are talent points to spend elsewhere. I like Supremacy. I'm pretty happy with Supremacy +1. I would probably not go all the way to +4, but if you invested here, go all the way to +4, go get your giant accuracy buff, go get your giant move speed buff, but probably not overall. Next is Shuriken Wave. Shuriken Wave is another pretty solid 1-pointer here. I want to point out what pure damage means. This is not like the Scourge, where you are doing direct health loss per turn. You're getting the number on the tooltip. This, much like weapon damage rolls, is between 1 and 0.75x damage, which means you're getting about 45-ish damage on this, not 50. That can matter because you might be like, oh, the guard's at 48, let me hit this. Nope, they're not dead. So be careful that you have some RNG involved in this one, which makes the damage even lower than you might think. Also, 10-meter radius is pretty short. Yes, you can bump it to a whole 12, but realistically, this is going to hit about 1 person, sometimes 2, and you kind of feel good about it. But like, hey, by the way, it costs an action point. The debuff is 10% evasion, which is okay, but Mark says more than this out of the box. It doesn't cost 1 AP. And 50 pure damage is fine, but again, can be unwieldy. You've got to walk into range to do so when, if you're using guns, you are outside of 10 meters, because of course you are. If you're playing melee, okay, fine. To be fair, You can totally play melee EX, not play for the SMG side, play as a melee character, right? Use glitch to get in range, use primacy to run really fast. The accuracy buffs are all buttons, you know, melee and ranged. And so if you are playing melee EX, all right, you're already in range for Shuriken Wave. This is a nice way to spend that one spare AP since you can't use a sword with one remaining. You can only do it with SMG or a pistol. So if you're like, well, I got melee range, I have 5 action points left. Okay, Shuriken Wave, a little bit of damage, a little bit of accuracy, and then I can, you know, spend the last 4 on 2 melee strikes. Like, that's actually pretty usable here. That said, I would absolutely not bother grabbing all the other upgrades. It's not very good. Extra charge per turn or per mission. I mean, realistically, you know, maybe I get 1 more per mission. Nah. Damage increase. Actually, there's not even damage increase. Minus initiative, I don't really care. If I'm Shuriken waving them, I'm probably going for the kill on the same turn. I don't care about their initiative. I don't care about their move speed. I want to point out that Shuriken Wave does not alert enemies. They become suspicious, so much like Tox Cloud, Venom Trap, whatever else. Shuriken Wave does not fully wake them up. And so in a world where you're like using Smokescreen or hiding some other way, maybe you've multi-classed Vanguard and you're using things like Blend or something to fully hide. Okay, sure, in that world. Or you're like, I've ended my turn. I am, you know, within 10 meters. I have 1 AP left. I'm going to Shuriken Wave and then wait for next turn. They don't get woken up. That, of course, works as well. Keep in mind, though, remainder of turn means that if the guard hasn't gone yet, it's only for this turn. If the guard has ended their turn already, then you get this, whatever's left of this turn and the whole next turn. Okay, that's fine, but make sure you think about your sort of timing here overall, what the guard can do. But yeah, it does not wake up the guard. Do I care about minus initiative? Not very much. Do I care about minus move speed? Probably not very much. I would ideally like to kill this guy before their turn comes up. If I'm already this close by and I'm not hiding in smoke, why am I letting the guard have their turn? I guess initiative helps make sure they didn't take their turn, but still kind of awkward here as far as I'm concerned. This upgrade, I think, is truly just kind of trash. This is not even 12 guaranteed damage because, again, you can roll for 25% less, and so it's, what, 7/8 of 12 damage? So it's about 10 damage. Oh boy, I spent 1 AP and got an extra 10 damage in my 1, maybe 2 targets. No thank you. 2 meters radius can help it hit a second target, but like, if you're investing this hard into Shuriken Wave, why? Second charge, again, why? I wouldn't really do it. Again, I'll repeat that Agent EXs are often not running into the talent limit itself, and so as a 1-pointer right next to Smokescreen, okay, sure, I can sometimes spend 1 AP, I can get 40-ish damage, I can get 10% accuracy for the remainder of, you know, whatever the next guard's turn is. That is decent enough where I will get use of this once per mission and a half or so. It's fine. I would never path to it. I really wouldn't bother taking the upgrades. So, hey, I spent some time talking about bad talents. Let's talk about good talents. Smokescreen is probably top 6 strongest talents in the game. This thing is truly incredible. Smokes are probably the overall strongest consumable. This one just comes into your base kit. It's really good, and it has extra upside. All right, so first of all, it's initially a pretty normal Smokescreen. It's a 5-meter throw. It is a 5-meter radius. It costs 2 AP like a regular smoke grenade does. The one thing to point out is that this only lasts this and the next turn. Smoke grenades last the next 2 turns, so be careful. You don't have a lot of space to work with here. But hey, it's in your kit. It's up every 5 turns. You don't run out. If you ever play a multi-stage mission, guess what? Every talent comes back to full charges, and so, you know, you might run out of smoke grenades. You will not run out of smoke screens. Pretty good stuff here. Next benefit is you can drop the AP cost down to 0. Despite the fact that it's not good as like a quote-unquote AP printer of, I'm going to use smoke screen and I'm saving 2 AP twice a mission. Oh boy, that's not the reason this is good. Well, the reason it's good is you can be like, you know what? What I thought was going to happen didn't happen. I low rolled and got a glancing hit every single attack. I low rolled and missed at 79%. I low rolled and, you know, everyone's initiative looks really, really good next turn. We're screwed. 0 AP smokescreen says no matter what happens, you are just going to be safe. My recollection is that, yeah, melee attacks can work inside of smoke, so be careful. If you low rolled against someone with a stun baton, they can still strike you here. Good luck, that's going to be dangerous, but no one else can shoot. It's going to be really, really chill. The other upside is that the Agent EX can shoot specifically out of the cloud, not in. If you smoke screen, walk out, you cannot shoot back in, but if you are in the smoke screen, you can shoot anybody who's also in the smoke screen or anybody outside of the smoke screen. So the Agent EX, of course, again, you can just melee and it's fine, but EX with a gun can sit in smoke and just shoot people. If you run a team with 2 Agent EXs, you can smokescreen back and forth, right? 3-turn cooldown, 2-turn duration. Guess what? You can go back and forth, and consistently have your entire team sit in smokescreen and be essentially immortal. And sure, only the guy who put the smoke down can attack. Everyone else got to be melee. but that is an absurd amount of actual power. This thing is ludicrously good. If you're playing Agent EX and you are not grabbing Smokescreen, you are not grabbing the best talent in the entire class. This thing is really, really, really good. Now, to point out, pathing to Smokescreen either requires going into the, like, aim lock side of things and pathing over by 2. That's fine. That's not even that bad. Or you're going through Glitch, or you're going all the way through the right-hand side, up through Signal Grift, and then over. But those are basically your pathing routes, or you're going through Shuriken Wave, which is really silly. Don't take that unless you're going through it already. But yeah, this talent is great. The only point I think is not worth it is increasing the cast range to 15 meters. I think grabbing the cooldown is going to be good no matter what. And that means you're going to increase cast range to 10 no matter what. But yeah, coming in, taking Smokescreen, grabbing the cooldown down to 3, grabbing the AP cost down to 0, all worthwhile. Absolutely great talent. And it means you want to send your Agent EX kind of late. If things go badly, throw it on smoke, your team is safe. This talent is truly, truly, truly amazing. All right, let's finally talk about the right-hand side here. First up is another stealth talent, Shadow. So there's a Vanguard in the game. Vanguard has Jam Kit as well as Lure. They're straightforward. They're easy to use. They're pretty good. The Agent EX has Line Crawler and Shadow. So Shadow is a bit like Lure. It releases a swirling shadow that moves in a straight line. Any enemy who sees the shadow will turn to where the shadow ends. So if a guard is vaguely facing you and you throw the shadow behind them, they will be like, I see shadow, and then they will 180 and they will face shadow and they will investigate, exactly like Lure. So just like Lure, it will go, every guard will look at and walk toward the endpoint of the ability. Now the tough things about Shadow is that out of the box, a 2 action point cost can be kind of rough. A 20 meter range is just enough to be okay. So guards can see 18 meters. Captains can see, I think, 20 or 22. Snipers can see 22. So careful, it's a little bit harder to lure captains and snipers out getting spotted. Because, of course, if they see you, they're going to be like, wait a second, I'm alert. They're going to chase you down instead of chase the shadow. But you can use this to say, hey, as long as the shadow crosses paths with any of the guard's vision cones at all, they're going to look at the endpoint and they're going to walk towards it next turn. But again, 20 meters is a little bit awkward. 2 AP, a little bit tough here as well. And unfortunately, the easy upgrades there are locked away. 30 meters, really, really valuable. This increases the usability by a ton. AP cost down to 1 or probably 0. Also very useful, very, very nice. And realistically, maxed out Shadow is a 30 meter range, 0 AP cost, 2 charges, 3 turn cooldown. And that is really good. That is up all the freaking time. The difficulty is that this cannot be cast through walls. You need direct line of sight, unlike Lure, where you have just the easiest cast paradigm of all time. Shadow is kind of awkward. That said, it is very, very good. 0 AP, 2 charges, 3 turn cooldown, 30 meter range means you can really, really drag some guards away. You can also then white noise them afterwards and make sure they can't see, so you can sneak past an entire group pretty easily. The stealth tools are really good and they're all easy to reach. They're just all their own little bit of awkward, which makes EX a little bit tough to use, but the tools are good, just again, a little bit of awkwardness in all these steps here. Still, all said and done, Shadow is an okay 1-point wonder. It is quite good when maxed. I don't think it's like complete Smokescreen S tier levels of power, but as a stealth tool, it is good. I want to be clear, this ability is good, just kind of hard to use. I'm going to stick with the stealth side for now and jump up to Signal Grift. I think Signal Grift is a phenomenal 1-point wonder. It's relatively close to Smokescreen, right? If you're coming from the bottom, it's 1 then over. If you're coming from Shadow, it's on the way towards Smokescreen, so pretty good stuff there. Like this entire pathing right here is quite nice. Yeah, Signal Grift is wonderful. Signal Grift is the second best, or you could argue single best body removal talent in the game. It does the best thing, which is cancel the body timer, which is wonderful. You then also buffs your EX with invisibility to everything except cameras for this and the next 2 turns. Now, if there's a camera going to turn back on at some point, you know, eventually your line crawler times out. Hey, guess what? It's going to turn back on. It's going to find this guy with Signal Grift. That will generate 3 tally from seeing a corpse. A guard will be sent over, but it's not under a camera. You are fine. Signal Grift is wonderful. It is on the way. It is 1 AP. The cast range is not even that bad at 5 meters. Do I want to be invisible to non-cameras for an extra turn? Absolutely not. Do I want the range 15? That's decent enough. Cooldown to 3. Actually usable. It's a short enough cooldown where this will probably reliably give me 1 more Signal Grift per mission. That said, keep in mind that body timers themselves take 4-ish turns to run out, and so realistically on turn 4, turn 5, do you need to care about a timer running out on turn 8 or 9? If you don't, then you don't need the Signal Grift cooldown. You might want the +1 charge, and if you really go all the way here, I'm not even going to hate on it, right? Signal Grift +5 is what this costs. It's 2 charges, 3 turn cooldown, easy to use. you will definitely get rid of a lot of body typers early on and save yourself a lot of grief here. That is pretty nice. And your EX, especially if you're going to go for a solo EX, using things like Glitch, like Signal Grift, like Shadow, like Shuriken Wave, and you're like, no, I'm going by myself and not being spotted and doing stuff, you know, and going for solo assassinations. Look, you have the entire tool suite, you know, tool set here, like all this kind of stuff, to pretty reliably get a lot done. Right, you know, ignore the various cameras, pull the guards away, like solo EX. There's a real sort of playstyle here. My preferred playstyle is to deathball as 4 people the whole time. I think it's safer and lower risk and just as efficient overall. But yeah, this is really good at letting you kind of bypass more. Just make sure you have the damage to actually kill the guard yourself in order to Signal Grift them. Otherwise, you're going to be pretty sad. Ultimately, I think it's a wonderful 1-point wonder, and you could invest, but I wouldn't generally recommend doing so. Going to move up now to Armor EX. Unfortunately, it's on the wrong side of the tree compared to things like Life Hack and Adrenaline Flow, but here is the last sort of tank talent in the group. Simply patch yourself with, basically, yeah, patch 1 armor protection point. Range of 3 is fine. You can get up to 8. That's fine. AP cost of 0, second charge. Yeah, these are all, you know, possibly viable. If you're going to be in combat a lot and your armor gets shredded, this is decently useful to help make sure your, you know, armor is in decent shape overall. But again, this does not line up with being a Scourge. You cannot double multi-class this. You can go into Soldier, though. That's decent here overall. You can go into, I guess, potentially if you're playing like some kind of tank Cybernite build, you can get all the way here. The problem is you're having to go through at least 2 talents to get here. I guess you can go through 1, go through Line Crawler and up like this. Not sure I'd recommend that, but I guess you could make this play. That'd be kind of weird. But end of the day, I think you probably have to already want to be near here to do this in the first place. My experience has been that my armor getting shredded is of pretty low importance. It's often not shredded. I often don't care, but it's here. I'm not going to say it's terrible, but it's one of the most situational talents here where you have to wait until you're already shredded. Then you've got to have somebody who's going to get attacked again. Thus, they need the armor patched up. And yeah, you can probably skip it. Final 2 talents are going to be anti-drone talents. Right now, in mid to late June of the launch year, there are not a lot of drones in the game. My understanding is the first drones are going to add in earnest relatively soon, I'm going to guess like a month or so, are going to be turrets who don't move but are very, very highly damaging. And so there are some drones in the game right now, of course. They're pretty rare. I would never build a talent build around them because it's not really worth it. But as they become more prevalent and more common, my understanding is they're going to put it in the mission tags like, hey, by the way, this mission will have turrets in it as part of the security escalation or something. So by the way, be careful. There are turrets. They're scary. And in which case, you might want to be like, oh, actually, I want an anti-drone EX to help make sure they, you know, that looks okay. Can see that being true, but as of exactly today, this is not in the game right now, at least not enough for me to care. But let's talk about it, assuming that there, you know, we'll assume there aren't drones and assume there are drones, right? If there aren't drones, don't learn this, but if there are, let's talk about it. So this is a bullet delivered talent, which means you've got to hit here. The nice thing is SMGs are guaranteed glancing hit at 60% accuracy if you go burst fire, which is basically guaranteed. So you're going to look pretty good for this one. And look, if you're going SMG EX, going left side tree, right side tree, Biocoat will, or sorry, Endcoat will hit pretty easily. Not a big deal. Minus 100 HP per turn, right? Not pure damage, is minus 100 health, which means you will get that 100 HP every single time. Minus 25 accuracy, definitely pretty useful. That said, you can just use smokescreen and not be hit at all, but sure, it's there. You can lower accuracy in case you don't have smoke. Minus initiative, not a big deal. That said, if you can stack minus initiative enough that the target goes below 1 initiative, they will lose their turn. So there is a world where you can stack this enough with this guy, with a Cybernite, with other stuff, and you can try to dump initiative enough. Shuriken Wave drops by 2. Minus 7 is not going to be enough to ever solo that, but it is possible to stack that, maybe just barely. It's still going to be kind of tough. Plus 1 charge, sure. Again, if you're fighting drones, Endcoat is pretty good damage. That seems fine. Another 50 health per turn, totally seems fine. Extra duration here. If you're going to leave them locked down, okay, fine. You can atomic stutter drones, and so, you know, Endcoat bullet from your Agent EX plus atomic stutter from your Cybernite, you can start dealing a whole lot of damage every single turn, and they'll just get solo killed by this. Yeah, totally reasonable. If your shredding tools suck, if your pure damage is low, it's going to work out for you just fine. You can take another minus 50 here, so yeah, you can get 200 health per turn for this and the next 2 turns, which is going to be, what, 600 health purely ripped off. Again, you combo it with a smoke or a stun or whatever. I'm actually going to assume that I can smoke screen on top of a turret, block its line of sight entirely, throw down an Endcoat bullet, and it just dies with nothing else going on, and it cannot fight whatsoever. Could totally see that being true. long as you walk away in time. Kind of neat, right? There's cool stuff there. There's other talents as well. Vanguard and Cybersword both can block line of sight and block shots. And so there are ways, again, in a world where there are turrets, pretty solid stuff, but right now there aren't enough turrets for you to care. Next one is Leech, another fun sort of self-heal talent. I think in a world where Leech is actually more common because there are a lot of drones. Okay, going in and going for Leech, going for Armor EX, then maybe kind of back towards Life Hack at some other point in time. Going through here is not too bad. I mean, you're going here, you're going to get smoke. Then, you know, come back around. I think there's totally a world where you can do this sort of like far right, far left, top middle sort of section, and you can, you know, have this kind of be your talent build. But again, aren't enough drones right now for me to actually suggest this, but a possibility at some point. Anyway, this is kind of like the Scourge Talk Cloud, an area within 10 radius, 50 meters away. Any drone is going to take have no move speed. Take some damage per turn. Now again, suffer pure damage means it's going to roll, much like Shuriken Wave, so less good than HP lost by the way. But that damage comes back to you as health. Pretty cool stuff here. You can bump the damage to 50. You can bump the damage to 75. You can also have them lose armor. Now, the biggest thing here, realistically, is the large radius armor reduction. Most drones have really, really high quality armor, like 80% or more. And so what 20% less armor means is deal double damage to the drones. You can make the radius, or you can make the cast range 25, make the radius 20, which means you can set a giant area that is basically the entire screen and say, enemy drones are going to have basically no armor. They'll take some damage. It's not a huge deal, but cutting their armor by a large portion means you can actually really, really chew through them. Again, roughly double damage is not an inaccurate sort of like explanation of how this actually manifests here. It's very, very high investment. You have to go +4 for this, and then you might want to go the +3 for here. You might not. One difficulty is no second charge. You kind of get this once per fight. In a Battle Strike, you're going to get 2 just barely. In a Siege, you get 2 just barely, but yeah, as long as you aim it right, it is, again, expensive, don't get me wrong, but it is a lot of bonus damage for the drones that you are fighting. You can get value by it being AoE, cool, wonderful stuff, but again, in the current version of the game, drones are too uncommon for it to matter. That said, there's some cool stuff here. If you're looking for like an example build, I would often say, hey, for a stealth EX, let's come up like this, grab a smoke screen. Obviously we've got, you know, white noise here, we've got glitch here. We're only at 10 points spent so far, it's pretty early on. You can definitely do some investment here in line crawler. You can or can choose not to go for the bounces here. Once you kind of have a lot of bounces invested, I think you probably want to go for duration. This is, by the way, not in order. I would not max out line crawler too heavily early on, but somewhere like this actually looks kind of decent. You've still got this next 2 turns. We've got a second charge here. The cast range is kind of okay. Oftentimes, I would actually just grab these 2 and skip the bounce chance stuff, because I think without duration and willing to fully invest, I think bounce chance is a little bit too finicky to be worthwhile. Shadow is fine. I would go something maybe like, yeah, this is how I should not have gone for cooldown AP. I think I care more about this kind of stuff. Again, I would not actually max Shadow early on. You can, it's fine. It is one of the ways you can go for it, but do not follow this build. I'm just like learning things as I'm going. I'm not really learning the best things. I would absolutely, though, go in here, and I think what I'd often do is say rush the cooldown to 3 and then still grab the AP afterwards, but I would rush the cooldown. This is the least useful node, so it's go here for the cooldown, then here for the cooldown, and then grab it down to 0. But every early game Agent EX, I would say absolutely grab Smokescreen. I would also say probably absolutely grab the +2 on Line Crawler here. You'd feel pretty good about it. I think taking a pause for Supremacy, taking a pause for Shuriken Wave. This one more debatable. Shuriken Wave kind of crappy. And you're already at 8 talents here, by the way. But this is what a sort of possible early game build might look like. Other pathing, you could choose to not go into Shadow and Signal Grift, just go up through Glitch. You could choose to not learn Glitch. You could choose to not learn White Noise if you're not playing melee at all. There's 2 points you can kind of save as well. Again, I would probably not go for EX or Leech or Endcoat Bullet. But if you are kind of later on to the game and you're like, actually, you know, let me go for, you know, let me go up this way, let me go towards aim lock, right? Let me unload these kind of things. I want to go for something more combat focused. Then we can talk about multiclassing. So for multiclassing, once again, you cannot be a Scourge. It is a mutually exclusive implant. It is in the same slot as Nanohive. You cannot be this, so don't even think about it. It's not possible. If you want to be a really, really good stealth character, we can go here and say, hey, let me add more to Jam Kit. Let me add stuff to Lure. Let me use maybe your Fract Wall, something like that. K-Protocol is pretty far away, but tools are all pretty good. You can say, hey, Glasswalker and Supremacy are going to cap at the same time. They're going to pop. I'm going to get AP and MP and move speed and accuracy, all kind of fun stuff there. That's going to look decent. Projection does well for the I'm a solo EX kind of running on by myself kind of stuff. You can use Body Bag to synergize with Signal Grift, but I don't think it's really worth it. This one, kind of whatever. Other option here for stealth is Hacker, primarily for packet loss. Prank is fine as well. It'll make an enemy run over. Fake Vitals is simply worse signal grift, so I wouldn't bother here. I would also recommend not being an EX hacker in terms of actually being a hacker. The EX implant slot overlaps with the single most important hacker implant, which is a neural toner. Neural toner is amazing. It's a bunch of IO, or headmem is the second best option, but either way, they both overlap with the Agent EX slot, so I would never go hacker EX to be a real hacker. I think it's just significantly weaker overall, even though the EX in the game have a bunch of bonus tech. It's just not worth it as far as I'm concerned. That said, packet loss is a really, really good talent, and so you can kind of consider that one. Other options, though, is you can go into Cyber Sword. If you're going to go for White Noise, you can go like White Noise / Slide, Whisper Kill. It lets you skip Lightfoot, although Lightfoot does give you stealth crit chance, so you might kind of care about that one. Whisper Kill is certainly awkward. You've got to find a way to actually crit that guy first shot, otherwise they wake up and they're no longer unaware and no longer get Whisper Kill. That's kind of tough here. But if you are playing a White Noise Agent EX, at least / Slide, probably go to Preempt. You might consider things like Shielded Rush or Aegis, maybe Deflection Field here as well. Again, Deflection Field plus Endcoat Bullet lets you do some really funny things with drones, so there's some kind of fun synergies there. Choppa, of course, always good for being melee, no big deal. Next option, this is probably what I recommend primarily for someone who is going into the aim lock side of things, is you really, really, really want Iron Grip +4. You're getting even more Ballistic as Pure, which, okay, you've already got a lot with aim lock, but more is never really bad. The big thing is because you're printing free reloads and you're printing free move points and whatnot, you're going to be in a state where you are going to be shooting with a lot of AP every turn, and you need high uptime recoil control. Iron Grip is here. There's no implant required. +1 charge is okay. You can just kind of be here and get your 12 back. I would at least recommend going here, getting 17 back and less generation. But realistically, if you're already here, take the extra +2 and go into 50% reduction. It's really, really good. Extra pure damage, all cool stuff there. And the funny thing is, like, you kind of want to keep going and be like, well, I can go marker sites and get a bunch of crit chance. I would like 25 crit chance. 25 crit chance seems really, really nice. And hey, it's 0 AP. That's kind of wonderful. I would like that. That seems really good. You know what else I would like? I would like to print action points. I've got crit chance here, right? I took, maybe I took marker sites. Maybe I didn't. I don't know. There's some crit chance nodes. The EXs all have high tech, so they have like 10, 15 crit kind of baseline. I'd like to go into recoup. On crit, please give me more action points so I can keep shooting my guns, so I can, unload all of my aim lock damage as fast as possible and keep moving forward and keep doing more and more and more and more damage. And in fact, I would like to generate a bunch of crit chance here with Savagery. Wouldn't that be nice? And so, even though we're now just describing a like normal, basically default soldier build, it's like, well, if you're playing with a full auto gun, guess what? This is a full auto weapon. Now, again, this is pretty much clearly worse than dual reload, don't get me wrong. Run and gun, we're getting a little bit too far ahead of ourselves now. Crosshair lock, not really needed at this point. Blaster cross, burst fire does count for SMGs, but like, look, these are trying to mimic what aim lock is already giving you. Like, Savagery's actual, aside from the crit chance here, the actual damage buff is worse than aim lock's damage buff. It's just, well, you probably want crit chance from somewhere. You can get that by going into Sniper and saying, hey, give me Strike Zone and JTAC. Give me some damage here. That's going to be reasonable. And you can, again, get the recoil tri-ink and handle recoil control. But realistically, it's like, look, what I recommend is going Iron Grip, getting +2 or +4. And then while you're here, when aim lock's already done, there's only so many points to spend in the first place, right? When you're here and it's like, well, I went here, I took aim lock +4, I went here, I took extra automatic +5. I'm only at like 13 points spent right now. I'm level 15. I've got 29 to spend. Like, I could go Smokescreen, I could go Supremacy. These are fine. It's still going to only cost me, 10 points to get all this stuff done. I've got points to spend. We're only mid game. We're not retiring yet. We're not late game. What am I going to spend points on? Well, actual core recommendation is Soldier. 5 points here. Come here. 6 points here. Come here. 4 more points here. Like, you've got the space for it. You might go, again, marker sites to make sure you have the crit chance for Savagery, to make sure you have the crit chance for, or sorry, you could skip marker sites. You can just go for crit chance, which makes you trigger recoup. Up to you, whatever you kind of want, but I think that looks pretty good overall. Final option there I want to kind of give some credit to is Gunslinger. This is a bit more expensive and tough overall, but I want to point out a lot of these basic nodes are light weapons accuracy and ballistic is pure, and some flat armor shot is not bad because it, again, rolls per bullet in a full auto, but the real benefit is going all the way up to trigger vector. Now, again, Snapshot will, unfortunately, it's not a pistol or revolver. Snapshot will not do anything. Flush works with anything. It's any gun. Cover Me will work with anything. You can just simply walk away, so you can path through the middle here, and then come up, and then all the way up here, and look for Trigger Vector. And Trigger Vector is ignore all recoil for 1 turn. And right here, ignore all recoil for 2 turns. It takes a bit to get there, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 points. I guess 9, really. But what you've got is, oh, nice. For 2 turns, I get 1 move point, so I can keep keeping up with my enemies. I ignore all recoil. The evasion is maybe whatever. You can get ballistic as pure if you really want. You can get an extra move point if you really want. You can get the AP cost to 0, but really this says, look, the timing's going to line up really, really well with aim lock, right? 4-turn cooldown. Now, aim lock is a 2-turn cooldown, so you're going to have a desync here, unless you... I mean, even at 3, it's still going to be desynced a little bit. Okay, sorry, you know, you have to wait for turn 2 of your second aim lock or whatever. Or use, like, Cyber Knight Rewind or whatever, but cool. This is a full ignore of all recoil, and that's pretty darn useful. Those are these sort of multi-class recommendations here. I think they all have some value. So let's talk about sort of overall ways to play this character. I talked about it a bit with some of the talent setups, but basically there's, to me, sort of 2 versions of Agent EX. Of course, you can always meet in the middle. There's primary stealth EX and there's aim lock damage EX. I would not be like, oh man, I've got Supremacy, Shuriken Wave, and Smokescreen. I'm such a good damage class. Like, nah, you can spec in a Soldier or Cyber Sword or Sniper, and that's going to do better for you. That's just going to be overall better for damage, and so I wouldn't be like, oh, I'm first and foremost a damage class by the middle tree. That's just not really true. Again, one day there's going to be anti-drone stuff. That'll be kind of nice, but again, not really useful right now. So the first spec really is Stealth EX, and it's, I'm going to keep bodies down, I'm going to use Shadow to pull some people away, I'm going to use Line Crawler to make sure some devices don't see us, and because Line Crawler is natively 3 turns long, this and the next 2, it means you have space to walk around and not get spotted as no big deal. And then when things finally get scary, well, you're already up here, it's pretty quick to go reach Smokescreen. Smokescreen is a really, really good bailout. It doesn't make noise, it doesn't scare any new guards, it's just not a big deal. So Smokescreen ends up being really, really chill, and it's just really worthwhile. And even if you are stealth focused, things will go wrong once in a while. You'll need some cover, somebody gets angry, and Smokescreen is just really, really, really great. And a lot of these talents, like Line Crawler, only really needs +2. You can leave Shadow at 1, you can leave Signal Grift at 1, you can leave Supremacy at 1. You've got the space to invest in Smokescreen pretty early and do most of the capping by level 4. This is a really, really good early game build as far as I'm concerned. White Noise is right there, has some real value, can help you sneak by some guards or attack them from stealth with melee weapons. Just overall useful, you can get some real value there as well. Really good, really kind of good stuff. Secondary build is, of course, going for more of a combat focus. Again, I recommend waiting until about level 10 so you can get the Iron Grip +4. But yeah, aim lock is just a massive amount of damage here. Extra automatic afterwards. You're going to go get your refunds here. It's going to feel pretty good. You can keep shooting, keep shooting, keep shooting for many, many turns in a row. Once you've got this one, you can probably skip on dual reload. Probably don't need White Noise per se, but also, you know, are you going to go from this side of the tree into the middle? Are you going to go from the middle into the side of the tree? Realistically, I feel like you just kind of fill in White Noise here. You get whatever in Gem Kit you actually want. You maybe go through here to Smokescreen if you really need to. You probably skip Supremacy, you probably skip Signal Grift, probably skip Shadow, probably skip Shuriken Wave, and then you go into Soldier again and get your Iron Grip stuff. That is one of the other options you can go for. As I mentioned, if you aren't going to go into Soldier, you should probably install the Recoil Tri-Ink. We'll go ahead and look at Cyber Surgery here. So I think I have enough stuff here. I installed Synth Pulse on this guy, but another option here is, again, the Recoil Tri-Ink. The % reduced recoil, and keep in mind also Strength gives recoil reduction as well. So this is really, this is 34%, and this is 29%. The flat 2 ignored recoil, also pretty solid. Keep in mind, these are expensive. These cost a lot. I forget if this game I'm on has increased prices or not, but regardless, downtime's not too bad at 9 days. Prices, though, pretty rough. Still, though, this can let you not have to go into Soldier multiclass and not handle that stuff. The other option, again, Sith Muscle, is decent. Whatever. The other one, though, being the Display Link, giving you baseline accuracy and some crit chance crit damage. This allows Savagery to pop if you are going into Soldier. Just overall crit stuff is good because just in general, there is a little bit of crit in the class training. There's not a ton, but there is some. You have crit damage here, crit damage here. Full auto damage. Yeah, kind of fun stuff overall. Yeah, mostly this is just like, I'm more accurate, but I'm not critting, but then elsewhere you can get crit. Mostly here, I guess. One up here, but you're probably far away. And then a little bit of crit chance, but yeah, not a lot of crit damage elsewhere. So you're trying to print crit damage from somewhere else, which you can get with mods. Loud barrel mods will give crit damage, by the way. So you can just be like, yeah, I'm going to take my SMG, I'm going to throw on something like an ultra heavy barrel, and now my crit damage is 1.8. I got 1 or 2 nodes, I'm at 1.9 or 2. I might multi-class and find it elsewhere. Who knows? Again, the display that gives me 25 here as well. So yeah, you know, you can pretty reliably get to 2.0 crit damage with like very little investment, and then suddenly you care about crit chance again, right? Because double damage is unsurprisingly very, very, very good. One thing to point out is, of course, SMGs are nice. You can get some really good damage here. A lot of ballistic, which means a lot of ballistic to gain as pure damage. If you are not playing it into aim lock, do not feel pressed to use an SMG. You don't need to. You can run an AR, you can run a sword, you can run a pistol. Anything can kind of work. It's going to be fine no matter what. Final thing to bring up is the current 2 Agent EXs that exist in the game right now. Of course, again, you can multi-class into EX from anybody else, but as far as the characters that are available, here is a starter one. I've got level 2 of some of my stuff here, but as you can see, he comes with a lot of tech. I think this is a pretty good distribution of attributes overall. Initiative is never a bad thing. Accuracy versus drones, again, pretty low value, but it's fine. XP gain, I think, also, honestly, pretty low value. Hard to make a lot of use out of this, but it's still there. Yeah, again, he comes with a lot of baseline tech and crit chance, so hey, 30 crit chance here. I'm getting, again, some more from my display link, and so even just out of the box here, 22 crit chance, not bad. My crit damage, again, with the display link and everything else here, I'm sitting at crits of over 2.0, and so, I mean, pretty good stuff, right? You will get some damage out of this. The other one comes out of the Underworld Hub when you get a, I think it's level 3 or 2, I forget, Underworld Hub. You can hire people, and the only Agent EX on offer right now is this one, the Escaped Experiment. Comes with a bunch of bonus initiative. Comes with more initiative here as well. As the baseline, some solid evasion. Again, pretty solid set of traits overall, of attributes overall. Evasion is solid. Initiative is very, very good. We can run the dialogue real quick to be like, hey, what can we offer here? We have 3 trait options. You can go Bull Build for strength and HP. I would not really recommend playing Melee EX, so, you know, meh, I don't really care about strength for this one. I really, really, really don't recommend going for a Hacker EX because, again, you can't get Neural Toner, and so I think it's just a really bad idea overall. And so really the best option here to me is pretty strongly crit chance. You can just stack even more crit chance, and that's wonderful. You also have the option of what is her complication. This is simply fixable at the doctor. It's spend some money, spend some downtime. Congratulations, your weird, you know, funkiness is immediately gone. You can have some Delta wear. Currently, this does not have any missions associated with right now. This is something they will eventually add, but this will be a tag that can be used for a story down the line of turn on some useless Delta wear. There are several characters in the game who have a tag kind of like this. At some point, they'll add the mission, but today, in June of 2025, that doesn't exist right now, but this is pretty cool. Has some interesting upside. Seems pretty positive. Of course, in the meantime, it is going to take up a slot, and so you can't, you know, replace that slot overall. And then finally, you can have someone at Bravestar hate you, and you've got headers after you. Obviously, a pretty minor, it can be a downside. You can fight the headers, you can be okay overall, but yeah, we just take the Delta wear. And of course, we can't delay here just yet because my barracks is full, but we can say, hey, you've got this adrenal pump, and it's right here in the chest slot. I can't actually replace it, but it means I can't take a Titan Heart or Regen Core or things like that. So, hey, it's conflicted. I can't do anything here. It, again, does nothing right now, but at some point in the game, I'm sure they will add a mission that allows you to run this, but we don't have that right now. So that is the rundown on Agent EX. Hopefully this was useful. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you want me to cover another class, please tell me in the description below. I will take that under advisement and reprioritize. So thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye-bye.